Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, joined on this fine Monday night by Raj Chapalu. All right, full disclosure. I know I told you guys that I wasn't going to record yesterday on Father's Day. I actually could have and intended to, but then we lost power for like 6 hours from like 7 o'clock my time until almost 1:30 in the morning. So even if I would have wanted to, recording yesterday was not in the cards. So what that means is we'll be doing today's show here, talking about the games that just ended, and then we will be talking to Harrison tomorrow, and then we will be doing a mailbag on Wednesday for that episode. So you know we're trying to stabilize this schedule, especially as we head into the least stable portion of our year. But that's kind of what happened yesterday. But other than that, things are good on my end. Raj, how you holding up?
I'm doing well. Had a really nice Father's Day. Obviously, out of us two, you were the only actual father on this show. um, but I had my grandfather here, so celebrated Father's Day with him. And yeah, I'm doing well. That was an awesome game. Another break during the finals that was dominated by a big trade, blockbuster. I think you can call it a blockbuster trade, but I'm glad the finals came and kind of restored order here. And hopefully weird scheduling, Anthony. So they had 2 days off between this game and now game 6 is not until Thursday, which just makes no sense. So this is a very
Travel
spread
day,
out. Yeah.
an extra day off, and a day after that. No, today's Monday, so tomorrow's a travel day. A day after that, and then Thursday. It kind of
Yeah.
makes some sense.
Yeah. But I mean, no game on Sunday. So you left the Sunday
Yeah.
time slot open. But in any
Well,
case,
especially
no, this was
Father's Day. I feel like there's
yeah.
always a basketball game on Father's Day, which you know, I on one hand was kind of bummed that we didn't have it, but on the other hand, I would have been going nuts to not like if we would have had that power outage that we had
Oh,
yesterday,
that
and I
was
wouldn't wouldn't have been able to watch this game. That would have driven me pretty insane. So selfishly, I'm kind of happy about it. But yeah, it was a little weird. Another weird thing, Raj, was that they announced before this game that they were actually going to show player introductions,
yes.
and they're like slowly but steadily listening to Twitter, who are all very like vocally telling them, "Hey guys, you had it pretty good. We had it pretty good before. Um, we still don't get HD. We're still waiting for HD on these
Okay.
broadcasts. So maybe one day we'll get that." But no, it was a really good game. It was a really interesting game. Huge bummer if you're a Pacers fan to see Tyrese Halliburton play that way. Didn't make a field goal in this one, so we'll talk about that. I thought Andrew Nemhard is probably pretty fortunate that Halliburton didn't hit a bucket because I thought Nemhard was a disaster out there. Siakam kept him in it. TJ McConnell went out there and gave him
Yeah.
great minutes as well. But in the end, Jalen Williams was incredible. 40-point game in the finals. He actually might make some noise for finals
Oh yeah.
MVP. That's going to be interesting. Shea was still fantastic. What did he finish with 28 points or something like that? And he's doing that while Indiana is pretty singularly attacking him
Yeah.
offensively. They're doing whatever they can to wear him down, and in this one he was still able to help out regardless. Raj, I think one of the place that I kind of wanted to start here with you though is that OKC has now gone back to
Yeah.
their traditional starting lineup. They've won two in a row since they did that. Would this have been a sweep if Mark Daigneault just didn't do something dumb right at the beginning?
No, I'm higher on Indiana than that. So I've liked them this whole playoffs. I've liked them this whole series. What it's done, Anthony, so the double big actually isn't that impactful, but what it's done is it's normalized their rotations,
Yeah.
right? Their bench just throughout the game, it's a little bit of a
Well,
better flow.
you've been incredible all year. Like
Yeah,
that. Here's the thing. I don't think, or I hope that most people who have heard me talk about this understand it was never that I thought Chet and Hartenstein were this
perfect combination. Yeah.
tandem that Indiana couldn't deal with. It's that as a whole, the Oklahoma City Thunder have been an unstoppable force all
Mm-hmm.
year. I think they have the greatest net rating in the history of the sport, or at least since they started tracking it. They were incredible all postseason, and then you start a playoffs before the other team forces you to make any kind of identity shift. And fortunately, and look, to Dagno's credit, he took a step back and said, "Okay, yeah, let's go with the guys who got us here."
Sure.
And they've now won 2 in a row. I'm not saying that it's because Hartenstein is doing anything. I'm not saying it's because Chet is even doing anything. I completely agree with you that it's a return to normalcy for
Yeah.
the team in basketball.
Yeah, 100%. And like I think we said this after game one, it was probably the correct move. It's just you're the better team, you're the higher, you have way more wins, 68 wins versus whatever Indiana finished with. These were I think the number one teams in terms of after January 1st. But you're right, I agree with you. I thought just the timing of that was incorrect. But this is just an amazing basketball game. And Jalen Williams, a lot of questions coming into this. Is he a number two? Is he a number three? Does OKC
I
need to go
wondered,
get
yeah,
that they need to go get a number two, and for him to show up 40 points in an NBA finals game, I put a lot of stock into
rare.
that. It's why I put, Austin where I do, because I've seen him do it in a playoff setting, but watching Jalen Williams come through and I tweeted out, like I've said all year, Anthony, he's reminded me of OKC Harden. And a lot of people, I think maybe we're too young or just don't remember before Harden was hypnotized by the Maury ball spreadsheet basketball. Harden used to play with the mid range. He had a floater. He would come off screens and be aggressive. He would go to the line in an ethical way. Stuff like that. That the way he used to play. And Jalen Williams reminds me a lot of that. And that punch with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and their team is just ruthless. Alex Caruso stealing every freaking basketball that exists in passing lanes. It's funny watching Caruso. You know how much pain we have watching Caruso as like he was on our team. He was
Yeah.
developed in our system. Imagine the Clippers watching Shea. Like I would, I might be passing out. Like I might not be able to watch that
Well,
team.
Clippers fans would say that at least Shea got them Paul George and then by extension Kawhi.
Cool.
Caruso
Hang
walking
the
didn't
banner.
do a thing for
For
the
for
Lakers.
sure. I'm not saying it did, but just to know that dude was in your house, right? And they didn't just get Shea, by the way. J Dub is also an extension of the Paul George trade.
Mhm.
Interesting when you go back and look at the first round picks. But no, OKC that 3-2 series lead. I still think this. I'm hoping this goes 7. This series, Anthony, to me deserves 7 games. It's just been incredible basketball, and I'm glad tonight wasn't a blowout. And yeah, I thought this was really fun. But Indiana has some things to think about. Hopefully Halliburton is healthy, can kind of find his calf, get his calf a little bit more healthy before game 6 at home, where I think they have a good chance to win. But no, this has been an incredible finals and just an incredible product, other than the way the NBA has presented it. Other than that, the product has at least been good.
Yeah, I think, it's a bummer that nobody is watching because the series has been excellent. All of these games have been right. Has there been
Game
a blowout?
two, game two was the only blowout, which was OKC at
Oh yeah,
home
yeah,
after
yeah,
they
yeah.
lost
When they
game
had
one.
to, yeah.
Yes,
Um,
desperation.
so but like, yeah, so 4 of the 5 games to this point have been close. It has been um the basketball itself has been fantastic. I still think it's too many whistles. I think the referees uh they need to make a decision, like either, because what drives me crazy, I had a conversation with this with because out here where I live, I'm a stone's throw basically from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so there's like a weird number of people from Oklahoma and Oklahoma City fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation over the weekend. I went golfing with some buddies on Saturday, and I had a conversation with some of the guys there, and one of them was a big OKC fan. And we were trying to, like, I was trying to explain why, because he was like wondering why everybody hates his team. And
Sure.
because it is a pervasive kind of take that everybody seems to be rooting for Indiana. And he was
Sure.
like, I don't get it. We've done everything right. We have homegrown talent. The guy that isn't homegrown in Shea, we were able to get from the Clippers after Paul George asked us to leave. We've done X and Y and Z. We've developed even the head coach is homegrown talent. All of these things. Why does
Yeah.
everybody hate us? And to me, I in terms of just basketball, the reason I can't stand OKC is because their fans are annoying as shit. But like, um, including that guy. No, I'm kidding. But like, but the reason from a basketball standpoint that I get really annoyed is they foul on every single play, and it's smart because referees aren't going to call every single foul. But how
Sure.
many times on the stretch of this game did you see? And every time a foul is called, you have I like AC, but he's super annoying. Where he's like looking up at the screen, like, what are you talking about? And he's like clearly got this dude in a headlock. Like Hartenstein is the worst among them, where he's got his shoulder into a player every single drive. And if
Yeah.
it knocks that player off balance and that player shoots it and they give him a foul, Hartenstein's like, what are you what are you doing? And it's like,
Yeah.
I can't stand the combination of the overly physical play that they have and the amount of falling and flopping that they do. That to me is like, that's the unethical part of this, where
Sure.
if you want to be super physical and then you want the entire game to be a rock fight and you accept that becomes the tone of the game, then cool. But once you start hand checking on every play and grabbing jerseys on every play and knocking guys out, every single thing is physical on one end. And then as soon as you get a legal screen, you have Dort flying into the third row, you have Shea falling every time he feels any kind of contact, you have all of these things. Aaron Wiggins was getting calls in this one. That's
Yeah.
the
The
stuff
paint.
that drives me crazy. It play, if you're gonna play the one way, allow the game to be played that way. That's all I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah, but I mean that's not on them, right? And I think at us also as viewers, we gotta decide like, do we want physical play or not? And you can't ask for physical play and then once you see it, go foul, right? Like I think like this is what we've asked for. We want really physical
Mhm.
basketball, and I think OKC has raised the bar of physicality in their possessions. Indiana does that too, right? If you go ask Knicks fans, I don't know many, but like if you go and ask a lot of Knicks fans and wonder like, hey, Indiana was fouling, Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith were incredibly physical at the point of attack against Brunson. It's like, yeah, this is playoff basketball. That's what we
Yeah.
want. I think the problem is what you're talking about, the separation when you go to the other side of the floor, and it's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander going, yeah, all that stuff over there doesn't work on me because I have I know how to really manipulate the refs and get the calls that I want, and there's a skill level into that too. I think most of your frustration though, Anthony, should be at Lou Dort. He's really the main culprit
I
on their
can't
team.
stand him.
Lou Dort
He's
is not.
dirty as shit.
He's not playing
He's
basketball.
constantly falling. I can't stand him.
I know you.
He
I
even
know when
his
those threes go
threes,
up.
even his threes, he's like kicking out his foot, hoping to kick
Yeah,
somebody. Like he can't just like shoot normally. He kicks
yeah,
and he's like his legs just come out and they had like they showed honestly, this should have been a foul when they showed it again. But he had a three that he made from the right side.
Mm-hmm. He
That
like
he
kicked his
actually had
leg
like a
out.
good quick release on it.
Yeah.
But he shot it, and it wasn't to make the shot. He shot it and he like jumped this way
Yeah.
and he kicks out his legs. Look at where he winds up on a 3-point attempt. He's
Yeah.
almost at the dunker spot by the time it hit. The
I
whole
remember
point
seeing that.
is so that it's so that he can run into somebody. And it's like, dude, you basically harass whoever you're guarding over the course of the game. And then every single time, like the one that really bothers me is anytime somebody sets a screen on him, he does the thing where he swings his hip way
Yeah.
out and he makes it
Catapults.
look like it was this super illegal screen. And it's just like, dude, again, you hand check constantly, you're grabbing constantly. Playing against you feels like, wrestling a raccoon. It
Yeah.
seems like it would really suck, but on the other end, or anytime you feel any kind of physicality, you fall over. It's the Embiid thing that drives me nuts. Where Embiid is super physically imposing, and he's
Right.
constantly got his body into guys and all that stuff. And then as soon as he feels just a little bit too much physicality, he falls over at 7'3", 375 pounds or whatever he weighs.
Yeah.
And Dort also is built like a freaking cinder block.
Yeah.
He should be able to deal with all that physicality. He can deal with all that physicality, given the fact that he doles it out as much as he does. But then he also falls to the extent that he does, and it's just really annoying. But anyway,
Yeah.
I do want to be clear here. OKC is really bleeping good.
Amazing.
They
Amazing.
are one of the better rosters, top to bottom, that we have seen in, I think, a little bit. Where there is zero fat in their rotation. There is nobody who there's no sore thumbs. Everybody goes out there, and you have the Kason Wallace's, you have the Aaron Wiggins game that was played earlier. You have Lou Dort, as we talked about, and on down. Like, everybody has their role.
Yeah.
Everybody is really bleeping good in their role. They do everything to, like, there's just like 150% commitment from all of those guys to play a certain way and commit to the amount of energy that it takes to play that certain way. It's a special team.
Yeah.
And even while I roll my eyes at some of the other nonsense that they get up to, like, I hope people do understand that this, like, I can acknowledge this is a really effing good team, and I'm really happy that the CBA is going to break them up in a couple of years.
I wouldn't hold your breath with that. If you go look at their contract situation, like, first of all, Jalen Williams has a $6 million team option next year. Anthony, obviously he's extension eligible, I believe, this season, but just in terms of their cap sheet, Aaron Wiggins is signed for like the next 3 years on a stupid, ridiculous deal. Sam Presti extended Alex Caruso as a smart GM would, right when he landed down into Oklahoma City. Isaiah Hartenstein is locked in. Chet, I believe, has a couple years. And Shea's not even on the max because of the max that he got when they signed him. So they have some longevity to them. But this is why I was screaming during the summer. People were like, hey, put your microphone down. But I was screaming from the rooftops. Like, the Hartenstein and Caruso additions were absolute absurd.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this later in terms of Desmond Bane, but Desmond Bane going for 4 first-round picks. Now, you can quibble about how good those first-round picks will be, but in any case, 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. Alex Caruso going for the right to not pay Josh Giddey, basically, is just an absurd ad for them in terms of role player status and how helpful. I said he had a chance to be Finals MVP this series. That's not going to happen anymore just because the performances that we've seen from J-Dub and Shea. Well, you never know. We'll see how the rest of these 2 games go. But
it was always ridiculous, and now
no, it was not. It was not
always
ridiculous. No, look, if there was a universe. I didn't say it was a likely universe. There was a small universe where Shea and J-Dub struggled and Caruso locked down Halliburton, and in any case, that universe doesn't exist anymore. But to your point, yeah, this is an extremely deep team, and I was thinking about this because if you look at this from Indiana's side, Anthony. Indiana doesn't have a lot of fat on its roster either, but they have a little bit. And I'm
Yeah.
not trying to call Tony Bradley fat, but Tony Bradley came into
Yeah.
the game and it was so clear he is not ready for this moment at all. And not really his fault, but just the talent drop from him to the other 9 players on the floor is so large that he's out there. And I'm like, is he moving in slow motion? You know,
Yeah.
like a foul is called on him and he realizes it maybe 20 seconds after the fact. Like, who's at the free throw line? That foul was on me. Like, he was
I
so
honestly
far
felt
behind.
bad for him. Like,
Sure.
I remember,
Not his fault.
I've always been a big, nature nut. Like I've just always loved watching nature documentaries and all
Okay.
these things. And I remember at a really early age, uh, my parents got me this like CD that had a bunch of nature documentaries on them, but they were like super short clips, to kind of explain what animals which. And so there was like a orca mini documentary, and there was like a tiger one and a lion one and all these things. And then one of them was piranha.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like this mini and I the clip that came with it was piranhas hunting, and this bird falls into this stream that these piranha are in, and it like hits the water, and you can see it get bit the one time, and it's like,
Yeah.
ow, that sucked. And it like, tries to kick the piranha off of him, and that actually sets him off. So then it's like 30 seconds later, there is no bird. There's a couple bird bones left, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I was watching this at 8 years old, mom and dad. That's kind of crazy. But,
Educational.
but like I saw Tony Bradley enter this game, and it was like this white little, like this tiny little
Yeah.
bird that fell into the stream of piranha, because everybody, his own teammates included, was just like, no, God, no, no, no.
Yeah.
The Thunder just swoop in, chew him up, spit him out. There's a couple Tony Bradley bones left, left over from that. It was just, I felt so bad for him. He didn't belong. He didn't deserve what happened to him in those moments.
No, no,
But then
not at all.
eventually, like Nemhard looked the same way.
Yeah. So Nemhard, like, he's getting a lot of, flack online. I mean, his job really is to foul the shit, but like Hal Shea
Yeah,
Gilgeous-Alexander all game. So that's kind of his job. His minutes are kind of aligned with him. But yeah, like a fun exercise I like to, well, might not be fun this year, but a fun exercise I love to do every year, Anthony, is go like, how many Lakers would you trust to play in this type of game? Right. And just you go through the lists, probably 5 or 6 in this type, like the rest probably look like Tony Bradley, to be honest. In this
yeah,
type of pace, the intensity, the high level of execution that's going on both ends. That's what I think is my favorite part of this finals. The last few, at least the last 4, or at least the last 6 or 7 finals, it's felt like one team is just executing at a level the other team can't reach, right? Just they don't have
yeah,
a shot at hitting the other team's peak. But this feels like a finals where both teams, when healthy, of course, that caveat is needed. They can both kind of reach to the same level, and they both have a very similar style, even if it's not the exact same. The way they go about it, it just feels like a very much, they're very consistent in their attack. They're relentless, and it's been a fun finals to watch. So hopefully we get 7. And I think Game 6 is going to be another just really awesome war. By the way, really quickly, they mentioned on the broadcast that people are waiting at 3:30 in the morning to see Oklahoma City land. Like OKC fans were waiting at the airport at 3:30 in the morning to watch their team land at the, I don't think I've ever reached that level. Like I've never been to the point, and my mom would probably be like, I'm not taking you to the airport to go. Like,
yeah.
we're not sitting at LAX at 3:30 in the morning. But I thought that's insane. That is insane. I've never reached that level of fandom yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of things I would wait for 3:30 in the morning for.
At the airport. Yes,
Like, well, no, like get up at 3:30 in
I
the
see.
morning to do anything.
Okay.
And birth of a child, I've woken up at 3:30 in the morning for the birth of a child, so I can cross that box off. That's it. That's the list. The miracle of childbirth, my firstborn son. That's it. I am not going to go there just to watch Shea Gilgeous-Alexander walk
Well,
off of a plane. He's
no, but
not even going to acknowledge you either.
that
He's
was
going to be
what I
like,
was gonna say. It's
all
not even
right,
like a full on like
totally worth it.
signing. Yeah, it's not even like a full on signing. It's if you're lucky, you get like they shake your hand while walking by home. So I just thought that I'm I'm an early gym goer, so that's one of the things I really like. Like 5:36 is like my gym time, just because how freaking packed the gyms are. But yeah, 3:30 in the morning, heading to the airport, sending the cold, especially Oklahoma City, right? I'm guessing it's cold over there in the morning right now.
No,
Maybe not. Maybe
no,
the
it's
summers.
like I would imagine it's fairly similar to where I live, and
Okay.
it's like cooler, but it's
Yeah.
humid and it's a little thick in the morning. So, but no, 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, I can't recall outside of Miles when he was born, because
Yeah.
Avery was born early in the morning too, but it was like early in the morning where we were up through the night, and then she was born, early in the morning. Miles was planned to be early in the morning, so I'm pretty sure we woke up at like 3:30. Car was already loaded up, and then hit the road, and we're at the hospital at like 3:45, 4 o'clock, I think. So
Okay.
um outside of that, 3:30, like, that is an unholy time. That is an ungodly hour. Like that, there's like it's not it's that stupid middle point between early and late, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's late Vegas time, but it's early everywhere else time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I have certainly gotten back to my hotel room in Vegas at like 3:30 in the morning,
Oh,
you
easily.
know?
Sure. Sure.
That's like lunch. But like, if it's like, yeah, I need you to wake up at 3:30 to do literally anything. And again, like, you're hoping to catch a glimpse of Kason Wallace getting getting off a plane. That's fucking crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
I would make sure the point is clear. Like I respect the
I
hell out of
don't.
the.
You guys are weird. That's a terrible use of time. That's so stupid.
Listen, it is. There's a lot of people there, so it's a.
Like, at
There's
no point you're like on your phone. You're looking on your phone. You're like setting up. You're setting up your alarm. Hey Siri, wake me up at 3:30 in the morning. Don't actually, but like, you're, like, you're setting your alarm for that early in the morning, and at no point do you think to yourself, I can probably skip watching Aaron Wiggins load up his bag and get off of an airplane. I can miss this one. That's just, I don't respect it. I think you're weird. I think you have to seriously reconsider your personal values.
they're not waking up at 3:30. You're waking up like at 2:45 because you got to get there. Hopefully, be the first one on the fence, right? So, but yeah, I respect the fandom
Could
or
you
the
imagine getting
passion.
there like 3 minutes late and being second row to see Lou Dort get off of an airplane? Like, shit. I hit the snooze button and I'm back row for Chet. Damn it. That would suck. That would suck. All right. You know what else would suck is if your team gave up 4 unprotected first for Desmond Bane. No, I actually like the trade for Orlando. And you and I went back and forth on this on Slack. There was a
Yeah.
lot of debate across Twitter about this, where I would say, overwhelming majority of people um, came away from the trade thinking it's kind of nuts that Bane would fetch that much draft capital. Um, I actually think that this means Bane is a little underrated. To me.
Hmm.
But what were your thoughts when you saw that trade come across your timeline?
Yeah, I think what the shocker, at least just being in the morning, waking up and seeing that was 4 unprotected first probably kind of extends with the actual value of that when you kind of dig deeper into what the picks are going to be. Most of them are going to be in the late round, so it kind of weakens some of the picks. But I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams, and I think this is an interesting conversation about what stars go for versus just really high level, these fringe all stars, right, on these different teams. And I think why Bane went for so much and why these players like Mikal Bridges and other guys like that are going for these high first round values because the encumbered team doesn't really want to trade these guys. Like I don't think Memphis sought out this summer to trade Desmond Bane. I think Orlando went to Memphis. It was like, we like Desmond Bane. Like, all right, we like him a lot too. Here's the cost to get him. You have to kind of throw a Godfather offer. By the way, did that term come from the movie Godfather? The
Mm-hmm.
Godfather. It did. Okay. Another movie on my list. I gotta watch. But but but
Wake up
yes,
at
like
2:30 in the morning and watch it, Raj.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
catch it on
But yeah,
AMC.
but yeah, like I think that's what happened here, and yeah, we were going back and forth on the value. I think KCP still has some value even with the year he had, and Cole Anthony, I think is better than some people think he is in terms of an off the bench score and whatnot. But Desmond Bane is really good, and I think the cost of this was Orlando didn't give a single player in their future plans. They didn't have to give up. Obviously, Paolo was never gonna go. Franz was really never gonna go, but Jalen Suggs either were able to keep him, so that's what the first four. But after kind of stepping back, I like this deal for both teams. I like Orlando going for it, and I think it's a direct kind of cause from Siakam, the trade for Siakam that's really boosted Indiana to the point that they're at. Boston obviously already out. The Cavs look, a little weaker than their regular season would show them to be. And Orlando's kind of serious with Boston. But yeah, I like this for both. 4 is still heavy for Desmond Bane, who still to me is under the threshold of like, here's the ball and go score in a playoff series, right? And that's what I think Orlando really needed. But I'm guessing they think the combination of Bane, Paolo, and Franz is kind of what can take them over the hump. But yeah, I think stepping back is a good trade for both teams.
Yeah, I think that the Bane was in kind of a tough spot because he had to fit alongside Jaw. But then Jaw has also missed so much time over the course of the last few years, especially whether it's because of suspension or because
Sure.
of injury. That Bane has had to step in and manage a team that didn't have its kind
Best player.
of, momentum driver. And even despite that, like I actually thought that if I were Memphis, I would have traded Jaw and tried to build around
Bane and
Bane
Jackson.
and Jackson, because Bane's a knockdown outside shooter. Now he's not the biggest frame, and he's got those alligator arms, right? Which help make him, I think, a better shooter. I like, no joke. I really think there is the
A
longer
short
your arms get, the
short
more
arm theory.
difficult shooting becomes. It's kind of like golf. Golf is kind of like that, where if you really get behind it and you have long arms, the ball's going to go really, really far.
Yeah.
But you have to, that timing has to be that much more specific and fine tuned if you do have those long arms. But uh like with Bane, I now it's going to be interesting to see. It sounds like, and it would make sense if Orlando starts Jalen Suggs and Bane in the backcourt together.
Oh yeah.
And then Paolo and Franz, and then one of their centers. Um, and if they do that, then you can have Bane running off of picks and operating off of the ball a little bit more. Dribble handoffs with their wings, or between Bane and their wings, is going to be really interesting too. But I I do kind of wonder, especially against second units, if Suggs will exit the court and they'll actually have Bane on the ball more, because I liked what I saw from him on the ball,
Yeah.
running the offense in Memphis whenever he was kind of thrust into that spot.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think he showed a lot of on-ball kind of opportunities in Memphis, and he had to, right? You spoke about Ja being out, Jaren Jackson being the other guy who's not really an on-ball guy. The only other guy I think was my guy Scottie Pippen Jr., who kind of fell into a big role with Memphis. But other than that, it was all on Desmond Bane. I think it's super interesting that Orlando picked him out as the guy that takes him over the top, and I think Bane's really good. 25-5, I believe, were his numbers on really high efficiency. That sounds like another guy's numbers as well. But in any case, but yeah,
We'll
Desmond
talk about
Bane's
him. We'll
but
get there.
Desmond Bane's a really darn good player. Again, my concern with Orlando, I think they just needed they need someone to play make, and they still don't really have any facilitation. Like I think Bane's fine, but he's not
Yeah,
really a high level playmaker. And to me, that kind of facilitated why KCP had such a bad year to me. Just the shot creation on Orlando. I think they had the worst offense on any team that was over 500 by a long shot. Their defense is incredible, and Bane helps right into that, fits in that style, that grit and grind kind of physical, tough style. And they're really invested into, we're going to be a nasty defense, and we have huge wings that we've invested in, right? We're seeing the success of a guy like Siakam. They believe that Paolo and Franz are on that level or even above. Maybe Franz had a weird shooting year, Anthony. It's so weird when these guys come in and they're like incredible shooters their first year, then they forget how to shoot somehow. Like within that, it's a really strange.
yeah.
We'll see if Franz kind of
The
rediscover,
thing.
rediscovers his jumper. But yeah, I think they have a really nice core, and they kind of have to go in now before these huge extensions come in for Franz and Paolo. But yeah, Bane's really darn good. The other part of this for Memphis, Anthony, is how much of this is also, I talked about, I believe Orlando sought out Bane, but I'm sure Memphis wasn't too upset to get a $37 million player off their mark. Like they already have Jackson and they have Jaw, and the reports are coming out that they're not traded either of those guys. And I think that makes a lot of sense because I think you'd be trading Jaw at his lowest value, I'd assume, right? I mean, Jaw right now
Yeah.
is probably at the lowest mark that he could be, and Jackson is just up for an extension, so you'd have really no leverage in those type of trade talks. But yeah, I think it's fascinating where Memphis goes and see if they kind of go in the 2-star build and then kind of build their roster out there. But I love this for Orlando. I love teams that go for it, that come up to the bat and swing. They definitely took a big swing on Desmond Bane.
Now, a lot of people after the trade jumped immediately into, well, shit, if that's what you can get for Bane, what could the Lakers get for AR?
Yeah.
I do think there are a couple of factors that need to be noted here. While you may not necessarily be wrong in Memphis being pleased to kind of clear the books of 40-ish million bucks for the next few years, I think that's also part of why Orlando was really excited to trade for him, is that they do have him contract controlled for the next few years.
Oh yeah.
Whereas if any team trades for Austin Reaves, he could just sign somewhere else after the season. And that I think is going to diminish his value compared to Bane in if we're going to make this kind of apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
Um, it, look, as far as like caliber of players, I think it's pretty similar. I think Bane has more practical shooting chops than Austin does on volume, which I think is one of the more valuable skill sets in the sport. He has a quicker release than Austin does, and I don't think is as consistently thrown out of rhythm when he is sped up as Austin has been these last couple of playoffs eventually. So if you really want to kind of pick nits and really get into the weeds of the two guys as players, you can. But to me, the biggest separating factor here and why I can't immediately jump to, we'll just trade Austin for 4 picks. The reason I can't quite go there is because, uh, I think, look, Austin is on the record, right? There's a clip of him saying he wants to be a Laker forever and is going to be a Laker forever, whatever.
Yeah,
I think his camp really wants him to remain in LA for a long time. And there's nothing stopping them from any team saying, hey, if we trade for your guy, what does that look like for us here moving forward? Austin's camp could always just say, I mean, you can trade for us. You could trade for Austin if you want. We can't guarantee that we're going to stick around long term. And that's going to take that trade offer from 4 first rounders. And again, these are, can we take a second and talk about the caliber of first here?
sure.
Because Orlando is going to be really good. So the picks that you get from Orlando, especially in the immediate future, that's going to be with Franz and with Paolo and with Bane all together in their primes. Those are going to be, back half of the first round type picks. You're probably looking
Sure.
at those being in the 20s. Most realistic scenario there. Maybe guys get hurt and whatever, but I think in terms of like planning for assets, those are 20th something picks. The pick they got from Phoenix, I think, is an interesting one. There are some swap rules there where it's the better of the picks between Phoenix and Washington, which means that you're probably looking at like a top 10 pick, I would say, next year. So that's valuable. I would say that's
Sure.
an elite, not elite, but a high caliber first round pick that you're getting there. And then the 16th pick in this upcoming draft, which is by definition mediocre, right?
Sure.
That's after the lottery. It's just kind of is what it is. So they're like, the Phoenix thing is a gamble, and worst case scenario for Memphis is Phoenix has a good year and Washington has a good year. That would be pretty tough for them there. But
And
in all
shocking.
likelihood, you're probably yeah.
Let's put that out there. Would be
Yeah, that's
pretty
fair.
darn surprising.
But they got themselves a lottery pick there. They got a just after the lottery pick in the Memphis one, and then Orlando will probably be later first round picks, plus a swap that I just don't think is going to prevail. So I don't know. People were going nuts over the 4 picks thing. You have to take into account how much it's going to cost to get off of KCP's final 2 years of his contract. He has this year and next year he has a player option, so he's not going in anywhere anytime soon. Those are the kinds of deals that executives are very, very adamantly against in this new CBA. The more that I kind of talk to people, I don't know. I wasn't blown away by the draft package that went back to Memphis
Yeah,
for him.
yeah. I mean, it's just the amount. It's just again when you compare it to what stars are going for, right? Jimmy Butler went for 1 first. Damian Lillard, when he got traded, was still at the kind of peak of what he was doing. Went for I believe 1 first, and the guy that's on our squad, Luka Doncic, also went for 1 first. Now the context around that is the players that obviously went within that. Anthony Davis obviously goes to Dallas, but still, even with that said, Desmond Bane going for that many, and I think again this.
Well, but the difference is, Raj, those guys when they were finally Luka aside, Luka was just the outlier of all outliers. Let's set
Sure.
him over there.
Okay.
But all of the other guys that you're talking about, De'Aaron Fox, I think you went for like a couple of picks, right? It wasn't very much at all.
Maybe 1. Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, you mentioned, right? Went for 1 pick. You can go through you can but like the big thing to me is that by the time those guys were traded, they had
That,
already asked out. They had
yeah.
already raised hell already. And with Bane, it's like there was none of that.
That's the point I was getting to was
Okay.
that no. I mean that's where I was kind of going with this was that those teams they want to keep those players and the people are like then Austin must be worth 10 first. Like, well, that's not really how this works either. But yeah, the Lakers don't want to move Austin, and I think one of the reasons that Memphis moved Bane is, to your point with Ja, they don't really believe that. How much do they believe Ja and Jaren are, put you in title contention next year? Probably kind of tough to trust that core right now, and that's probably why they're like, okay, we can cash in on Bane, keep our options open, still have Ja and Jaren, as a source of our winning for right now. But yeah, you look around the league, Anthony. I was trying to scour like these fringe all stars that you can plug into a team where you have your number one set. That's a tough player to actually go and find, right? We're watching Jalen Williams with it in these finals, right? On Indiana, you can go from Neesmith or Siakam, obviously would be the guy, I guess, and try to find another Siakam around the league. It's tough, and you get to Desmond Bane pretty quickly. Like, I think Bill Simmons came out and said he's the 35th through 43rd best player, which is an amazing range to kind of throw him just to throw him in.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look around the league and it's tough to find those type of guys. They are usually not available because if they're on a good team, that good team wants to keep them. So the cost of getting that player is really, really high. That's probably an impact of the new CBA as well. Just these players that are fringe, really good players that aren't superstars, so you don't have to pay them as superstars. They're just on really good deals. It's tough players to find, and you usually can't get those guys without giving up one of your core, which is, I think, why you had to, kind of throw up 4 first rounders for Desmond Bane. But yeah, Bane's really good, and I think it kind of shows what the value of Austin would be on a contract that more matches his production. Because right now I think it's tough with the number he makes. But yeah, just it's incredible still though. Even with you saying that, like watching Kevin Durant trade combinations come out, and it's like, here's one first and Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of what even I know he's 37, but that's kind of the market right now when you go through these stars that have burned your bridge already. So we'll see. But I'm kind of shocked, Anthony. The KD saga has already passed. Like, usually you get the report like, oh, the Suns are gonna try to make it work with KD, Book, and Beal. We got a new coach. We're gonna try to make things work.
Oh, as soon as they hired Ott, it was like, oh, KD's gone then, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're gonna hire a rookie coach to try to help quell the storm that is all of the bullshit that has been going on in Phoenix. No, I mean, it's always been clear that they needed to trade KD because that trio clearly wasn't working. They can't continue to frustrate Booker in the way that they were. You literally do not hold enough draft capital to trade away Bradley Beal, and they don't want to just eat his contract. So the only thing that they could do is KD. And again, it's one of those spots where, and this is one thing that has kind of frustrated me with Rob Pelinka, is if you put yourself in a scenario where the rest of the league knows that you have to do something, Miami had to trade Jimmy Butler, and they got Andrew Wiggins and a poo-poo platter of, mediocre picks and shit like that. If you put yourself in a situation where, if you're the Lakers, everybody knows they need a center, it's really difficult to negotiate from in that kind of a spot. And here in this case with Orlando and more specifically here with Memphis, I think everybody kind of thought that eventually they would arrive at a place where, yeah, it probably makes the most sense to break up the Jaren Bane thing. And they probably traded the guy.
With the
I
most
think
trade
Bane
value.
probably had more trade value than does.
Oh, right now, absolutely, absolutely.
And part of it too, I saw Darius making this point on Twitter. The plug and play nature of Bane's game, I think, really matters here because that's a guy who is a movement shooter. Every team needs that. He's a solid-ish defender, has some on-ball chops. Like those guys, like if not Nemhard, but if Neesmith if Indiana decided they needed to trade Neesmith, they would probably get the Bane package for him. You know, several mediocre picks from a team that thinks he allows them to take that next step because he's a really bleeping good wing who can
Yeah.
fit with all of their best players. You know, the idea of, back in the day where it was like, all right, I'm just going to trade for the superstar and make it work. I think that's we've realized that doesn't work. It didn't work in Brooklyn with KD and with Kyrie and James Harden. It didn't work with KD and Booker and Beal just recently. I would argue that it was kind of clunky with Luka and LeBron and Austin last year. The only time recently that really worked out was when it was with KD going to the 73 win Warriors, and that's because he just happened to fit perfectly with what they were looking to do. So, or with the way that their core was kind of built, and that aged like milk eventually too. They got sick of playing their reduced roles because they all were overqualified for what the Warriors were asking them to do. And I think all of these teams are taking into account how guys are going to accept their roles whenever they show up to whatever situation they're walking into.
Yeah. I think the last, I guess, just superstar, traded all for a star that worked was probably the AD trade in 2020. That was probably the last one where it was like, here's the haul, here's Anthony Davis, and you just go and
But
win
there
right
wasn't a
away.
core that he was walking into. They were establishing the core.
Sure. I mean, there were some players here, I guess, right? There was, I think KCP was here, JaVale was here,
Big
Dwight,
Kuzma guy.
Kuz was here. I'll contend Kuz was helpful in that run,
He
averaged
was, he
20,
was, he
20
was.
minutes
But
a
I'm
game.
saying like it wasn't like
No,
there
like a
wasn't
set
like an
team.
institutional culture
Sure.
built in.
No.
AD came in and he and LeBron said it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Oh, you're right. But like I think the league's just better. The talent is spread across a lot more. I was having this conversation. I just think like from today, like obviously like 10 years ago, whenever the Miami trio was formed, the gap, Anthony, from not Boss, excuse me, from Wade to like the 11th and 12th best player in the league, that gap was so much wider than it is today. Like today, whoever the third best player in the league is to like the 8th or 9th, that gap is not as wide. So in a playoff margin, just you need more than just stacking these $50 million salary players together in a team that makes sense. You need depth, you need a roster with a lot of different various skill sets. We're watching Isaiah Hartenstein get played off. Like it's a really freaking good center that is
Yeah.
being played off the floor in an NBA finals. Like that to me shows just the talent and the bar that you have to reach. So the Lakers have, some work to do. My last thing on Bane, Anthony, I was thinking about this. When I was growing up, there wasn't really these like bodybuilding guards like that archetype didn't really
Yeah.
exist. It's just interesting to watch Bane. Lou Dort, I don't really put in that because he's not really a skill guy with that, but Bane being like the buff guard, I just find that interesting. It's such a different archetype than I remember growing up. Those dudes were usually power forwards. There was a guy named Reggie. I forgot his last name. It was like
Evans.
Reggie Evans, who would like lift before games and stuff like that, like super
To
heavy.
look even more swole.
Right. Yeah.
I know you have done the thing. I did it when I was a kid where like I'm going to the beach that morning
You
and you
go
and
get
you
your
pump
workout
out
in.
like 50 really quick.
Few biceps curls. Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, so you're walking and your muscles are all swollen and stuff
Right.
because you just worked out. Reggie Evans was doing that before playing in professional basketball
That's
games.
so insane. So insane.
Yeah, I think Bane is probably the buffest guard in a minute, right? Like I can't. Fisher was pretty swole. That
Yeah.
he
He
was
didn't look
big.
like body built. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean Bane. Well, it doesn't. It helps Bane that he has those T-Rex arms because
Yeah.
it is like his arm is just one big bicep. It's like a bicep and a tricep, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And there's like a hand attached to the bicep and the tricep. There's no forearm. It's just this guy has two balloons in a hand. Um, All right, let's talk really quickly about some of the stuff that we're hearing regarding the Lakers, and we'll get you out of here. Jake Fisher reporting that the Lakers are interested in Brook Lopez. No such reporting that Brook Lopez is all that interested in going to the Lakers. I don't know how mutual that interest is. Just all right, I'll tell the story. Um, I remember landing in Vegas, and you walk through the gyms and you go to lunches and stuff, and you just never know quite who you're going to be sitting across from at some of these lunches. And I remember I got there and I was all excited because it was like, yeah, I think, especially if the Lakers go out and get LeBron, Brook
Mhm.
Lopez feels like an absolutely perfect center to have there with LeBron. And I remember asking somebody like, yeah, that's got to be in the plans, right? And this was a Lakers employee at the time who were like, oh God, no, that dude is gone. And he reset his bird rights, remember, to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, went for the
Um,
minimum.
yeah, on the minimum. And that he hated playing for Luke Walton. He hated playing in that Lakers organization. He was, it was just a real bummer of an experience for him. And I would be shocked, honestly, if he said that he would want to run that entire experience back. Now, what I will say is Luke Walton clearly not there anymore. Magic Johnson clearly not there anymore. Rob is, so, although I think that was no,
Was that Mitch? That was no. Did he play with Lonzo? I think he played with Lonzo,
I
right?
think he
Or
played with Lonzo. He was there with Randall. So that
yeah,
was still Mitch. So maybe like the different leadership in place now maybe refreshes how Lopez feels about the Lakers. But regardless, all that aside, what would you think about Brook Lopez as an option here?
if this was 5 years ago, I'd be ecstatic. I think he is 37, and I think Brook Lopez on the right team is still very helpful and useful as a basketball player. I think on this specific team, he's 37 with miles on him, right? Already slowing down, was already not too versatile as a defensive player. Obviously, he was in DPOY talks a few years ago. But just now he was never super versatile, but already in this very much drop coverage, big, very slow footed, not a lob threat. He is a pick and pop threat. I'm gonna be honest, I was not a fan of him when he was here. I didn't like the 40 or 35-foot threes he would fling up. And maybe that was the play style was just bad, and the style of play was just not matching his game. But at the time, I was like, man, why is Brook Lopez 7'2", shooting like 36-footing slingshots that I just thought never had real shots of going in? But
Well, he was
yeah, I
like
just
learning to shoot a 3-pointer on the Lakers
yeah,
dime.
yeah, that's a great point. We developed his three ball, just incredible. We got no fruits of that labor. Like all of that done on our watch, and he goes to Milwaukee and just thrives. And I was like, wow, look at Brook Lopez becoming a great 3-point shooter. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he took practice shots in our games. But yeah, no, I think we're kind of past the point. If he wants to come for the minimum, fine. I think he probably has a little bit more value in that. We haven't talked about this, but I truly believe, Anthony, the Steven Adams contract set a real market for these centers. Steven Adams, context aside, he averaged 4 points and like 5 rebounds this season on 13 minutes a game and got a 3 for
He's getting
40
paid $1 million a minute.
yeah, so just I think it set the market on bigs, and I think we should kind of re-examine Capella's market and all that stuff. But Brook Lopez, to your question, yeah, I would hope we go a little bit younger in that for that position. 37, that's really old, especially next to a 41-year-old. I think that's tough.
When I saw this rumor, um, So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and I'm not going to question Jake's reporting on this because Jake is my dude. Um, but when I saw this kind of hit the timeline, um, it was one of those things that like I didn't even want to try to confirm because it this is the first name I believe really kind of like connected directly to the Lakers, like somebody that the Lakers are kind of interested in. You have the Kessler thing. I mean, new name,
Sure.
and specifically free agent name. And it's like, guys, you just signed Alex Len, and he wasn't able to move. And now clearly, Brook Lopez is a lot better than Alex Len, but they really apparently like that archetype of big who won't be moved. And it's just like that is not the skill set that I would like. I'm watching these finals, and that's not the type of big that it could. How do you think Brook Lopez would
Oh
he be
God.
that he'd be that baby bird that we talked about, that piranha that the piranhas ate up, you
Yeah.
know? Um, I just it was a bit of a bummer there. So I don't know. I haven't even looked into Lopez, and again, Jake is really bleeping good at this. And so I don't doubt that the Lakers would have interest here. And it would be one of those things where it's like the Lakers having interest doesn't exactly surprise me because of course they would go back to the well, of former Lakers before they get creative and they try to find, some diamond in the rough kind of big who is less proven. Like Brook Lopez is almost too proven. We know too much about him. He's 37 years old. Like
Yeah.
we're good here.
Yeah. Not just that. I think it's. I want people to go look at the free agent center class. Like it is not. We're not really in a position to me because I've seen. This kind of I guess kills my Brook Lopez point, but I'm not sure how much we're also in a position to be like, not him. Like he doesn't really fit what we like. We gotta go get that guy, right? I'm not sure we're in a really a position to be super picky just in the free agent part of this. Now you hope the draft is something that they really focus on and kind of are able to find someone there. But if you go look at Spotrac, it's funny if you look at like their best free agent centers,
It's
Anthony
not great.
Leonard. Well, just
Who are
like one of
not
the
like Miles Turner and who are
well,
not
yeah,
Naz Reid.
right. But one of the top names is Christian Coloco, which is just funny enough. Like if you go, you don't have to go that far down for Coloco to be one of the top like center free agents that are available. A guy that I hope is back and is used a little bit more than he was a year ago. But yeah, just so I wouldn't want Brook Lopez. He's not my first choice, but at the minimum, Lakers aren't really in a position to
Well,
decline
I'm
that
not positive
either.
it would be for the minimum.
Well, then, yeah, that's where it gets dangerous territory. Like, Lakers have very few assets to use this summer, and using one of them on Brook Lopez to me would be a mistake. Yeah, the taxpayer Emily on Brook Lopez would be rough. But again, I think that Steven Adams contract just set a real market. I really do. I don't feel that way about the Bane trade. People, the Bane trade means this star is going to go for X. I think that was a very specific guy that Orlando sought
Mm,
after.
I think I'm always of the I'm of the belief that all of these things are always connected. You
Okay.
know, like I remember the Rui trade happened and the
Yeah.
Lakers got a lottery pick wing without having to move a first. And that made me think, huh, okay. And I believe the rest of that trade market was actually pretty conservative. Um, in this case, again, you got to look at the caliber of picks that are going for one thing.
Sure.
Um, but also the type of player who was being moved. And it's the type of player that the Lakers are going to be in the market for, who is this plug and play immediate upgrade over even if the Lakers move talent to get, a player who maybe fits a little bit better. Like that's the kind of thing that the Lakers or that the Magic just did, and they paid a pretty hefty price to do it. Even though I'm the person who said let's pump the brakes on how valuable each of those picks actually are. Um, the Lakers are going to be looking to do exactly what Orlando just did, and it's going to be expensive. And so, I now I don't know. Eh, To me, hearing a direct connection on Brook Lopez here indicates that there is still more, because I've also reported that the Lakers are going to be interested in Capella, but it indicates to me that there is still more interest in name
Mm,
than homework. You know,
sure.
there hasn't been any direct connection like, oh, the Lakers are, in talks for Goga, or the Lakers are in talks, with Team X for buy low center candidate Y. That's not a thing that has been reported yet so far. And I know the Lakers do tend to move in a lot more secrecy than that, but yeah, I don't know. I guess like Lopez is such an uninspiring name that it just kind
Sure.
of annoyed me. Like I saw it and I was like, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
let's just pretend we didn't see it, and I'll just stick with my reporting on Capella.
Yeah, I think, but I think this kind of highlights, Anthony, how important this decision is. Like, you can't mess this up. Like, the
Yeah.
center has to be impactful. And so my rationale is I think you should have as many bites at this apple as you can. Like, you get you follow the draft and you find a way to get some young big, whether it's at 55th pick, a second rounder you buy, or undrafted, wherever it is, you're able to find some big man talent that kind of fits Luca's play style. And then at the taxpayer Emily, you go look what you can get. And I think that's why you're seeing the name. Well, you reported Capella. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's 30 years old, really fits, played with another super playmaker in James Harden, just came off playing with Trae Young, right? Luka Doncic fitting right into that mold. I think makes a lot of sense. Now, again, I think the Adams contract pushes. If I'm Capella's agent and I look at what Steven Adams just got paid, and I'm like, wait, he averaged 5 and 5 in 15 minutes a game, and he got a
I'd be
12
angry
million.
at the Atlanta Hawks for never making the playoffs, because that's the whole reason Adams has the contract he has,
You're
because he
100%
played
right.
well in that postseason series, in that one series.
He did, and even in that series, didn't start, or maybe did he start one game? I don't remember. But in any case, was still very specific in his role, right? Set hard screens, get offensive rebounds. But that's a $11 million player. That's an expensive player at that position. But in any case, yeah, I think that's where you're seeing a name like Capella. I know I guess like the general consensus is like Goga and Tony Cornette are very cool.
Luke
Yeah,
Cornett.
Luke is not. I always say Tony for some reason. Luke Cornette and Gogar names, to me, they're still very just mythical type players to me because they've never had real rotation minutes in any sense. So I know the advanced numbers say that they're productive. To me, you never know with those type of players. It reminds me of when we went and paid Mozgov because he caught some lobs from LeBron James in a finals run where he had no real impact. And
Yeah.
so it reminds me a lot of that. And I have some still fear and traumatic kind of responses to that. But I think that's why you're seeing the names like Capella, Brook Lopez. I'm sure you'll see others. Andre Drummond is a name. I'm sure that will be flown out this summer. I'm assuming at some
I
point.
think Drummond has a player option that he's probably going to pick up.
Okay. I don't know why he's listed on Spotrax. Oh, maybe there's a potential for being a free agent, but yeah, I'm sure other big names will kind of point out. But yeah, if you can get Capella, like again, seeing the Adams deal, if you can get Capella, I think that's really fine as your backup center. And now if Capella's starting on opening night, I think we have some issues. But well,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess aside from Lopez specifically here, I think the note to make is that we are now entering that territory of, some clarification, some, actual stuff to start talking about here. And you know what, man? Thank God. Because this final series is just trudged along, and I have had to talk about the same like 3 centers for what feels like a month, and I'm really excited to even though I'm not really over the moon about Brook Lopez, it was nice to talk about Brook Lopez tonight. That was actually kind of nice. It was a fun, different conversation. So that's the stuff that we get to look forward to here in the Lakers Lounge. Raj, anything to look forward to from your content over there at Silver Screen and Roll?
Yeah, we have a bunch of center breaks, so good, kind of leeway into it. Have a bunch of centers to film breakdown this week that'll be releasing all throughout the week. So, that's fun. To your point, this is the time that happens. We have about a few weeks before I think the draft is in a week and a half or whatever it is, and then we get right into the summer. But want to make sure people know there is still a finals going on. There's a 3-2 finals being played. So there's another game on Friday. So hopefully this extends to, I think Game 7's next Sunday. So
I hope it does, because I am rooting for the Pacers, but it's also like, man, this has been so long.
But Anthony, but then it ends. Like there's nothing after that.
No,
Like
then
it's
it
just
starts.
okay. Yes, but I mean just on court wise.
Well, but then you have you have the draft, and then you have free agency, you have all that stuff, and you have summer league.
Summer league.
Like
Yes, that's my next.
the
countdown.
end of summer league is the bummer,
right?
No,
but this year we get Euro.
We have Eurobasket, and we actually have somebody to, I guess, pseudo root for. That'll be weird. That'll be funny, because last year I was the guy who was like, Nuggets fans, what are you guys doing rooting for Serbia over?
Life works in mysterious ways. This is gonna be hilarious watching you do that this summer. Darn it, Luca, play some defense. They're like, what's going on? It's like 4 a.m. and you're up watching.
It won't be against Team USA. What struck me as odd was that you had these people rooting against their actual country.
That was wild to watch.
That was insane.
Yeah, that was insane. But that shows like people care more about their NBA team than the Team USA. But
I don't think I would ever get there, even if it was Luca playing against the
Slovenia against Team USA.
Sorry, Luca, you got to lose this one. You get some extra rest.
There won't be any extra rest. It'd be the final. Well, I'm assuming USA would get to the finals and Slovenia would play. I don't know how the tournament will work. But.
Yeah. Well, Team USA won't be playing in Eurobasket because we are not a European country.
No, I'm talking about Olympics. Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about what we witnessed last year, where there was like a good subsection of Nuggets fans like come on, Jokic. Like it's like wait.
Yeah. No, it was like booing Team USA. Actively rooting against Team USA because it improved the chances that Jokic would win a gold medal. It was the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time. Like, what? Anyway, this has been fun. This has been a good time. Apologies again for the bit longer of a break because of yesterday's power outage. I will get this up and I'm literally going to edit it and throw it right onto the RSS feed. I have some stuff, kind of planned out that I'll be writing, which means plenty of lowdowns in the future as well. Some fun guests, plenty of news, plenty of rumors to get to. This is when it really starts kind of ramping up. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Turn on those notifications here on the channel for whenever we go live, so as to make sure you don't miss out on anything. And then if you guys are listening to this in the morning via podcast, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods, preferably on Odyssey, because I am a company man. And until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu. Have a great rest of your days. This is no longer the weekend. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.